Margherita Porro and Maria Jubilee are on stage at the moment here in Sardinia to pick up the prize for winning the Youth and Women's Trophy in the AC40s. We're seeing equality in the AC40 fleet. How long are we going to have to wait until we see a level playing field in the AC75s?
The preliminary regatta in Sardinia looked for a few days like we were witnessing the future. For the first time, women were racing the principal all-male America's Cup teams in equal AC40s. Luna Rossa's women and youth mixed boat won 3 races. Athena Pathway, skippered by Hannah Mills, won 1. Across the week, they beat some of the biggest names in the modern America's Cup: Peter Burling, Nathan Outteridge, Dylan Fletcher and Quentin Delapierre. It felt like a big moment for women in the America's Cup. It felt like a barrier had been broken. But what's really changed? After all, the AC40 isn't the boat that will decide the America's Cup. Every AC75 training session is covered by the America's Cup Recon team. This is a centralised resource to give us a chance to see the boats developing in real time, replacing the years of the teams spying on each other. We can see how they are tweaking their manoeuvres, their techniques, their designs in foils and sailing, and how that crew is working together. And it gives us a glimpse into the future of what might be happening when they line up in Naples next year. But there's one thing that I'm not seeing: women on the helm. After what we saw in Sardinia, that feels strange. The AC75 is the cup boat, the big one, the boat that decides who takes home the trophy from Naples in 2027. It's the asset that teams spend millions developing. For this America's Cup, the boats are crewed by 5 sailors, and for the first time, at least one of them must be a woman. After 175 years, that's a big deal. But one final step remains. If women can win races in a mixed team against some of the best male sailors in the world, when are we going to see a woman helming an AC75?
Oh God, I think I've just been pushing it for so many years, and I just remember absolutely fuming.
If you're excluding 50% of the population, you're not going to grow anything.
Yeah. How you find those individuals, how you give them the opportunity is really the key.
Don't treat this women aboard rule as a handicap.
For most of the America's Cup history, there's been a simple answer to the question of women racing on board. The boats were too physical. Huge loads through sheets and winches, crews hauling, grinding, trimming, trying to keep dangerous and powerful beasts under control. It was heavy work. From that came an unspoken assumption. Women could be near the campaign, they could support it, but being on the boat, that was for men.
In those days also, wives of owners were welcome aboard, and one wonders from the poses just who wore the pants.
Except women were there from the very beginning. This is Edith Hope Goddard Island. She was on board winning America's Cup yachts in 1895 and 1899, a 2-time Cup winner. Fast forward a century, 1992, an American named Dawn Riley races on board America Cubed, and in 1995 she skippered an all-female team called Mighty Mary in the Defender Series.
For the first time in history, an all-women's team was competing in the America's Cup.
Then that campaign ended, and for almost a generation, the Cup carried on as if the experiment had never happened. 30 years later, things have moved on. The AC75 is still powerful, violent, still fast, still unforgiving. But there's no grinders or cyclors on these boats now, and the hydraulic power comes from batteries. Has the argument about physical strength become obsolete? Jo Aleh is an Olympic champion, gold in London 2012, silver in Rio 2016, and former World Sailor of the Year. She competed in the Women's America's Cup in 2024 and is now part of Emirates Team New Zealand's AC75 programme. Earlier this year, she became the first woman ever to sail one of these boats. Is there anything on the AC75 that you think a female sailor can't do?
No, that's the great thing about these boats. There's nothing physical in the role, and that's always been the big piece. It's like, oh, you're not strong enough.
Right,
or,
yeah.
A lot of boats you do need a strength aspect, whereas these boats, it's buttons.
Right.
Buttons and levers and input devices.
Yeah.
It's about time spent learning how to use them and time spent sailing these boats so that you understand the full picture and how to sail as well as possible. But that's just an experience piece. You know, that's the great thing about these falling boats, and the 40 is the same. You know, there's no difference as to who's sitting in a seat. You can all do it the same way.
Odile van Aanholt won Olympic gold in Paris 2024. She raced in the Women's America's Cup in Barcelona, but in Sardinia, she was on the sidelines, commentating with me.
It looks very manageable today, so I expect...
I mean, I'll be the first to say that physically, I'll never get the physical strength that some of the men do.
But we've got batteries.
We've got batteries, we've got buttons, we've got steering wheels. I've held the wheel in my hand. It's very manageable, even for a girl like me. So, I mean, no reason. And we've got great brains, just like men do. I'm not saying we're better than men. I'm just saying, yeah, we've got a lot of talent too, and please give us the opportunity to show it.
Hannah Mills is Britain's most successful female Olympic sailor, with 2 gold medals and a silver across 3 games. She leads Athena Pathway with a mission to fast-track the development of professional sailors and increase diversity within the sport. She's planning to helm an AC40 again in the next edition of the Women's America's Cup.
The role on the 75 will develop a lot over the next year as to what it is. There's so many different ways you could do it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how the other teams and our team kind of approach that challenge and just get the best out of all the roles on the boat.
It feels as if the old excuse was always, oh, you know, men have more capacity to be more physical, you know, women maybe less so. But that is not the case with the AC75. We've got the cyclors out of the way, you know, and we've got the hydraulic assistance and battery power. What kind of excuses are people sort of trying to sort of throw at, you know, people like yourself or, you know, the next generation?
Yeah, I'm hearing less and less,
right.
which is very cool.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's always been about experience and opportunity, whether you're male or female.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that we have now got the Women's Cup, providing that opportunity and experience for women to get to the right level to then jump on the 75, I think is massive. So, I'm really hopeful in years to come that there won't need to be a mandated role. It will just be the best sailors, and that will include women on the boat, you know, because they'll have had the same opportunities and experiences the guys have.
I grew up watching this event, and as a young sailor, the race that really got its hooks into me was watching Emirates Team New Zealand lose on the line to Alinghi. And while I was never going to grow up to be a Dean Barker or a Russell Coutts, I could daydream. I could picture myself out there because the people doing it looked like myself. The door was open for me. I just wasn't going to be good enough to walk through it. But what if the door had never felt open at all?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always the Olympics. Because that's all I could ever see women in, you know? And so...
As a Brit, can I say, I'm glad that you went to the Olympics. Thanks for that, but carry on.
But then, as a female in the sport, I think almost all women, not all, but, you know, almost all, would see an Olympic career and then I need to go do something else completely. Whereas now, we're seeing that that's slowly changing, which is really, really cool. And come back to the Athena Pathway, it's not just about the women on the boat, it's about the shore team and actually bringing young women into the shore team, and I think just creating that culture shift within the teams. I just think it's a really exciting time in the sport, and hopefully we can push it to change quicker. It comes back to trying to grow the sport. And I think if you're excluding 50% of the population, you know, like you're not going to grow anything.
In the London Olympics in 2012, Jo Aleh represented New Zealand along with 2 other up-and-coming sailors, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke. Jo took home a gold medal in the 470, but that wasn't quite enough to open all the doors. She told me about an incident where she was invited to sail on a high-performance boat shortly after the Games, and while the men were given opportunities to helm, Jo, as a woman, was overlooked.
And I just remember absolutely fuming for the rest of that day. And I was like, oh God, what do I need to do? You know, I just want a gold medal. Like,
there's nothing more. There's nothing more I can do.
And I guess I had a lot of those experiences coming through, like on keel boats, trying to get into sort of offshore racing. You know, chasing my way, going down the dock, like doing deliveries, trying to get on boats. And the guys would get called up and say, oh, do you want to come and do the Sydney Hobart and get paid? And I was like, God, it took me another 15 years probably to get paid to sail on a boat. So just that door opening. And I think that's what's probably changed quite a bit in the last 5 to 10 years, or at least 5 years, 3 years maybe.
What do you do in a situation like that? Do you fight and then risk pissing people off, or do you sort of try the soft way? And
yeah, I mean, at the time I was quiet. Like, I wish I'd spoken up. Now, like with the confidence I have now, I'd be like, oh,
I can't imagine you not speaking up.
Yeah, but it was a long time ago, and I was just so surprised. I was just more shocked, I think, than anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it is it's a hard balance because, you know, when you do speak up, you sort of go, oh, you're so difficult. You're like, oh,
Right.
Women don't like to be told we're difficult.
Yeah. No one does.
I still probably don't know the right way to go about it.
Right.
You know, it's still something I'm learning.
I wanted to get another perspective on the pipeline into the America's Cup. So I spoke to Nathan Outteridge, the skipper of Emirates Team New Zealand and one of the most decorated sailors of his generation.
We've had, you know, several discussions about it. You know, when I first won my gold medal was 2012 at the London Olympics, which is when she won her gold medal. I basically left the Olympics and went straight to San Francisco and joined the America's Cup, and I've been doing it ever since. Whereas it took her over a decade to have the opportunity to get involved and come and do it. But I think now she's actually, you know, really found her feet here within the team, and what she can bring to the team is been incredible. And, you know, it's a real shame it probably has taken this long for her to get that opportunity. And the same could be said for multiple Olympic medalists, you know, that have finished their Olympic careers as female athletes, but there hasn't been something to go to. And, you know, the same can be said for a lot of male people too. Like, the way the sport works is there's only a handful of professional sailing jobs that exist once you've finished your Olympic sailing. And often it's right place, right time. And, you know, for Jo now, it's right place, right time, but I'm sure she would have loved to have been doing this 10 years earlier.
Oh, God, I mean, I think I've just been pushing it for so many years. I feel like I'm always a bit too far ahead, you know.
Right.
I've been like the front of the wave, and it's been a battle, you know, for a lot of years. And I've seen,
smoothing the road for those people behind you.
But exactly, and like, if there's anything I can do in the next few years to make it easier for the ones coming through, then I feel like I'm achieving what I need to do.
Yeah.
And to be the first to do something is, I mean, it's great, but it's a bit stressful.
So the sport did something about it. For this next cup, a historic new rule. Every boat must carry at least one female sailor. On paper, the door is open, but in practice, some obstacles still remain. You know, you're Dutch, you're an Olympic champion, you are a proven high-quality racer in a very fast boat in the 49er FX, the women's skiff. But there's no Dutch entry to the America's Cup. So I'm guessing if you're Australian, if you're American, if you're Italian, things look a bit different. So do you have an option to get back in?
Well, I don't see one as of right now, and I think that was quite difficult because it felt like we were gaining so much momentum at the last cup.
Barcelona.
From Barcelona, where we had the invitational option for teams to come in from different countries, and there was a lot of excitement about possibly building a women league, and then nothing ended up really happening. So for me, I'm commentating here, but it's a bit bittersweet. I would much rather be out there racing. And in the men, they do have now this rule that they can have foreigners on board, but in the Women's Cup, you cannot have foreigners on board. So, for example, for me, there has to be a Dutch entry into the main cup, which there isn't at the moment.
So rather than the door opening wide, it's just sort of cracked open a little bit. It's kind of tantalizingly open, but that doesn't mean that the job is done, and it's as easy for, dare I say, a female sailor as it is for a male sailor.
It is, but I also have a lot of belief in the women who are sailing out there.
Right, yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping for them, like, take this crack of the door opening and really grab it with both hands. And we have very capable girls out there. We've got Hannah Mills, we've got Ellie, can't even say anyone, all the people, Maria. I think if they just give them the chance to sail in the boats, they can show, and then maybe next time, it wouldn't even be a question about what gender do we put on board. It'll just be who's the best sailor, and good chance there's a woman in between them.
So why haven't we seen a woman helming an AC75? I asked Nathan Outteridge, who was part of the team that helped write this new rule.
Like everything, it takes a little bit of time to get comfortable sailing these types of boats. And I think the biggest thing that, you know, we've been able to invest in this campaign that we didn't get a chance to do last campaign is getting more interaction between the female sailors and the senior sailors in the program. And right now, the best boats for that are the AC40s. You know, they're light, they're nimble, they have all the same qualities as an AC75 without the, I guess, loads and without the risk of failures, you know, but that's where simulators have been amazing for development and that's where these 40s have been great too. The biggest difference between an AC40 in its one design configuration and sailing the AC75 is the multitasking required to sail an AC75. You know,
Right.
without autopilot, without the boat flying itself around, you've now got, you know, more jobs to go between, you know, less people. It's all about time and it's all about opportunities. And if you create the opportunities and people excel in those roles, then, you know, of course that's going to happen in the future. You know, right now for this campaign, you know, Jo won't be driving the boat on the AC75, but she'll be, you know, adding a huge amount of value to our program while we're racing. But that doesn't mean in the future that opportunity doesn't exist for her or it doesn't exist for another female sailor. At the end of the day, these teams need to put, you know, the best people they can on these boats to win the races.
So back to that question, when are we going to be seeing a woman sailor helming an AC75?
1 year, this AC in Naples.
You think it's going to happen in Naples? You think somebody might be able to prove themselves?
Yeah, I think if the teams have the guts, yeah. If they're given the chance, and I'm sure there's lots of women there who want to put in the hard work, they just need to get the chance to actually do that work.
I think there's still a little way to go. I mean, I think the guys who are sailing the boats now have, you know, well, most of them have 5-10 years experience in this game, so it's going to take time. I think I'm probably more excited about just getting women on the boat in the first place and then seeing where they end up. You know, do we have flight controllers in a few years' time? Yeah, do we have a driver? I mean, all of the roles on the boat are very technical and you need a certain amount of time to get in there. But hopefully that's what happens, you know, in the next few years. There's obviously a little way to go still, but yeah, the door's open.
It's like anything, the first step always probably feels the strangest.
Yeah.
And then you get into the rhythm and then it's just like, why hasn't it always been this way? The Women's Cup's a big step. And the continuity of that and the America's Cup partnership will be a huge piece in that, you know, having an event every 2 years that creates sort of actual careers, I guess, for people rather than jumping into a cup and then maybe not knowing what you're doing next. You have to bring young girls and keep them in the sport from a young age to get the talent pool to then bring them into the top level.
It's basically having a female sailor coming through who has, you know, the fast instincts, the foiling skills that they've developed from a young age, and they can jump straight onto a 40 or a 75 and make the boat go as fast as, you know, one of us that have been doing it for a while. Then there's no reason why, you know, you won't get selected to be on one of these boats. But how you find those individuals, how you give them the opportunity is really the key. And I think what the America's Cup has created and what sailing in general now is creating is opening the doors to female sailors to get those opportunities as well.
To the teams listening, I would say don't treat this women aboard rule as a handicap. Use it to your advantage and find that best women so that you can win. If you get the time, if you get the dedication, if you get the attention, then we can grow just as good as men can be.
The America's Cup is all about weighing up risk and reward and placing bets on those things that could lead to a revolution or disaster. Winged keels, solid sails, now the double skins, hydrofoils that lift the boats out of the water. And that pathway for the women to enter into that calculation hasn't really been there, but perhaps now it is. There are talented, determined women who are overcoming every obstacle that has been placed in their path in the America's Cup. They're putting in the training, on the water, on the simulator. They're there in the Youth AC, the Women's America's Cup, and now they are featuring on the AC75. And the barriers of the past will not be fixed overnight. The teams are still playing it safe, and as we've heard, it will take a while to change that culture. But there are women preparing right now to break through. And undoubtedly, there are young female sailors that we have yet to hear about. And they will be watching the Women's America's Cup. They'll be seeing sailors like Jo Aleh on the AC75 and the other women forging that path. And perhaps they will be inspired to believe that they could be doing it in the future too. It feels like it's only a matter of time before women take the wheel and change the face of the America's Cup.